And on this note, I want to invite our next activity is the presentation on Perfection Betoniq Housing Scheme. And no other person to do that than the Energy Director of Perfection Betoniq Housing Development Company Limited, President of Dr. Njoko Richard Ikejoba. Please a round of applause for him. I will clap for him very well. You're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. So that's what my presentation will be all about. So we'll tell you about the technology which we have right now in order to take this to the next level. I need somebody to. Just the next slide. First of all, I wanted to give you like an overview of the problem, the challenges we have. Nigeria really has a housing crisis, even by federal government's own admission. If you look at what the National Bureau of Statistics is talking about. Today we have about 17 million units of houses that need to be built right away to meet the demand for housing in Nigeria. That's what the deficit is all about. And at the rate we are building houses in Nigeria with one brick here, one mortar here, I don't know how many years it will take to build 17 million houses. We also need to understand that Nigerian population is expanding exponentially. By 2050, Nigeria will be the third largest, most populous country in the world. So if we cannot provide housing and shelter for 190-something million, I don't know how we are going to do that when we reach in excess of 400 to 500 million people. So if you look at the indicators, those in the formal and informal sectors, I'm talking of people with jobs and those who don't have like formal sector jobs, like who do street trading and things like that. There are millions of people who need houses. Civil servants, both at the federal and state level, they need between, I think it's 500 to 600,000 houses. You look at the military personnel and members of their families, between 300 and, is that 300? Between 200 and 300 houses. Paramilitary, like the police, civil defense, federal road safety, immigration, customs. So all these people, if you put all of them together, at least a maximum of about 1.5 million houses, demand, teachers, federal and state levels, between 500 and 600,000. And then students also need houses, because you see many of them commuting long distances to go to lectures, because there are no houses close to either in the campuses or close to, where they live. Now, all of us do understand that housing is a basic human need. I think the previous presenters have tried to highlight that. Your house is also linked to the wealth you have. Most people actually measure their wealth in terms of real estate and houses they have. Because traditionally, you have used it as a gauge, as a measure, as a benchmark of your real value. So housing is also linked to our national economic development. Unfortunately, the housing problem is more pronounced in the urban areas like Lagos, Do you know how many people come to Lagos every day? Does anybody have an idea? How many people who migrate into Lagos on a daily basis? Any guess? Huh? It's much more than that. The statistics are saying about 50,000 people, enter Lagos every day from all parts of Nigeria. So that's why the population of Lagos, well, they keep saying it's about 20 million. I think it's probably a lot more than that. Now, so the immigration, people coming in from all over, there's really worsening situations in urban centers like Lagos. And the overpopulation is giving rise to the rise of slums and all these squatter settlements. Some people live under the flyovers, some people live just about anywhere. They put on some shacks, and that is their home. And sooner or later, it begins to depress the property value for everybody around. Overall, the quality of housing in Nigeria is very poor. It's very, very poor, especially in the urban centers. If you look at the quality of design of the houses, if you look at the materials they use, if you look at the standard of construction, and even the provision of basic amenities. This is a situation where people have homes and there is no water, there's no electricity, there's no access road, there is no sewage. So you cannot call those things settlements or houses. That's a challenge. Put the other one. And then rent is also very high. These are some of the basic issues. In Nigeria, people spend 60% of their income in order to rent a place to live. It shouldn't happen. The standard all over the world is 30% or less. So these are some of the anomalies we see in Nigeria. And then I'm happy states like Lagos are taking care of this. You pay for a year, you pay for 2 years. There is no way you could go to your employer and say, give me my salary for the next year or 2 years ahead, advance. Let me use it to pay for rent. It's not going to happen. Next slide, please. Some of the previous presenters have tried to highlight the problem with the housing sector in Nigeria, why we are having a crisis. The first one is that Nigerians have terribly low income. You will be surprised that 70% of Nigerians earn less than $1 a day. 70%. And now we have a percentage of Nigerians that are in extreme poverty. Nigeria is now the poverty capital of the world. It used to be India, but since last month, Nigeria is now the poverty capital. You have 45% of Nigerian population in extreme poverty. And this is a problem with buying houses. Now, less than 10% of Nigerians actually have what we call good quality job. Others are either unemployed or underemployed, or people scratch at this and scratch at that in order to make a living. Now, if you look at the public servants themselves, 70% are between grade level 1 and grade level 7. So somebody in this grade level will be difficult to buy a typical 2-bedroom house or apartment or bungalow that costs anywhere between 2 million or 2.5 million and 3 million. Please, the next slide. I think the lawyer Mr. mentioned about the land policy issue. Land is very, very expensive, especially in places like Lagos. If you buy a piece of land for 5 million, 6 million, or 10 million, what development are you going to put on it when you also have to deal with issues of low income? The land management system is inefficient. There's absence of clear property rights. Again, like I said, Lagos is beginning to make some changes in this respect. And then the Land Use Act, he mentioned, that vested so much powers in the state governor. Basically, the governor has control even over your land, including community land. That's why people have to go and say, give us a decision and gazette it, so that we can even have access to what belongs to us. Now, the financial market in Nigeria, the financial institution is so weak. We notice that most mortgage companies in Nigeria, most banks, cannot even carry your mortgage for 3 years or more than 3 years. Do you know how long a bank can carry your mortgage in a place like the United States? Does anybody know? In the US, you can get a mortgage for 40 years. 40. In fact, you can start with, say, 5% interest rate. And then all these mortgage companies, thousands of mortgage companies are bombarding you with offers. You see one that is now offering you 2% interest rate on your 40-year mortgage. You do a refinancing. You now switch over to a company that is offering you a 2% interest because your monthly payment is now going to go down. You say you're over 40 years, that's the whole of my working life. I'll be able to pay off this mortgage. In Nigeria, they won't even give you 3 years, which is 36 months. There's, the affordability gap he mentioned. There's a huge gap between the cost of houses and the income of end users. And then you look at the cost of capital. Of course, money is a commodity, like you buy and sell money, like any other commodity. So it also attracts a lot of interest with it. Now, the housing delivery system in Nigeria is also very poor, very fragmented. There are too many unskilled people building houses in Nigeria. I think Mr. Ed mentioned the fact that most people in Nigeria don't even go to look for mortgage. They go and scratch up something, and then they are doing their own construction. About 80% of Nigerians are involved in this. So it's a very huge and systemic problem. Now, if Nigeria wants to resolve the housing crisis, we have to build quality houses. We have to build affordable houses. We have to do it on a sustainable and unprecedented scale. This is the only way you will be able to defray, take care of the 17 million deficit today, which is even going to grow more tomorrow. So we must find a way to build these houses as fast as possible. Now, our argument on both the professional real estate side and the professional Betoniq side, which is the development company, is that the traditional way of building houses can never resolve this problem. Why? Because traditional construction is very costly. The cost of construction is way too high. Second, the quality of the constructed houses is also poor. While if you are using brick and mortar, it's very slow. I don't know how many brick and mortar things you are going to put together to build 17 million houses. And for how many years? At this rate, in the next 200 years, Nigeria will not be able to build 17 million houses. And then the skilled labor is very scarce in Nigeria. Why do Nigerians go to Togo and Benin Republic to go and bring in people who know how to do POP and know how to do the floors and tiles very well? Why do they do that? Yeah, because Nigerians do not have the skills those people have, especially the French-speaking countries. They take time and focus on technical and vocational training. They get it right. We do not do that. Now, if you see the guy doing one brick and one mortar, I don't know how many years it's going to take using this approach. And these are also some of the results we are beginning to see, especially in places like Lagos. Of course, the government is beginning to crack down on the issue of building collapse. Now, Perfection Betoniq offers an alternative. But before I tell you the alternative, basically, Perfection Betoniq, no, I don't go too far here. So it's a development company, it's a joint venture company of Perfection Real Estate, which many of you belong to, and Betoniq JV, Nigeria Limited, that brought in the technology. So that's how we came about Perfection Betoniq. So our mission, we want to find the most innovative ways using technology to try to find a solution to Nigeria's housing crisis, so that the average person, if you have low income or middle income, you'll be able to afford a house of your own. Because we've seen that traditional construction will not be able to deliver. And hopefully we want to envision ourselves. We want Nigerians to think of us in the future as the company that has the technology to resolve some of these crises. So our expertise is very vast and diverse. From project planning and conceptualization, we'll build, construct, assemble, finish, and deliver houses very, very fast, as you are going to see in the course of my presentation. We also do project management. Now, we do housing finance through our partners like Imperial Mortgage and some other partners we have. And then we're also getting into aggressive marketing with your help. So these are the prices of some of the houses. You already know this. So this, now go to the houses, forget about the prices. Now, what we want to do, we want to build houses that are very, very appealing, even with the technology we have. So we want houses, whether it's a 2-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom house, a house should be proud of, that has all the aesthetic appeals and has all the whistles and bells. So whether it's a 2 or 3-bedroom house, to whether it's a terrace apartment or bungalows or duplexes, so we have the technology to do those as fast as possible. Now, if you look at this particular design, you can leave that for a second. What you see on the roof are solar panels. So one of the things Betoniq wants to do is to offer choices, options to people who are going to buy these houses. We can actually put what we call solar shingles on the roof, so that your roof is also generating electricity for you. Of course, it's optional because the initial cost will be higher than most other houses. But over time, it pays itself off. So because you are no longer paying for most of your electricity, your roof is also generating the electricity. So that's those blue panels you are looking at. Now, so these are some of the type of houses we're interested in: beautifully designed houses, aesthetically designed houses that have a whole lot of appeal. One of the things I got to realize by living abroad, an American can buy a house for $1 million, but he will spend $10 million to furnish it. He doesn't care too much about the exterior. He doesn't care about too much how the outside of the house looks like. But the inside has to be perfect. He's going to go and hire an interior designer, pays lots of money to get the interior perfect. But we tend to do the opposite culturally. We tend to look at the outside first to make sure it looks beautiful. So these are some of the houses. Now, everywhere Perfection Betoniq will be building, whether it's in Betoniq or in Ikorodu or FaceTime, we are going to put infrastructure and amenities, from internal road network to sewage, drainage, and mechanical and electrical works. Most of the time, you walk into some housing estates in Nigeria, especially in Abuja, everything has been abandoned. People build what they call carcass houses. Why should you leave a house uncompleted? And then you want the homeowner to come in and complete it and also build the infrastructure. And my understanding is that 90-something% of the time it is never done. They say, yeah, if we finish it, the madam in the house will come. She doesn't like the tile in the kitchen. She condemns everything. They don't like the roof. I said, no. You need to work with them before you get to that stage, in order to determine the type of tile or the type of roof. You shouldn't leave all those things in carcass form. And definitely we are not going to do that. So each of our housing estates too will come with all these furnished amenities. Again, the electricity will come with optional solar panels, which I showed you. And everything from reticulated water up to, we even want to do landscaping. We want the estates to look good. I will now discuss with you the two types of building technologies we have. And then after that, I will show you like a 10-minute video clip so that you will actually see how this technology operates. So the first one is called Arubian Building System. So this technology came originally from Malaysia. It has what we call a foam concrete It's just using your cement and sand, but now they turn it into foam by, very high level filtration, and then they add additives in the mixture. They add additives that harden that cement. They add additives that make it water resistant, fire resistant, mold resistant. Even if there is earthquake or tremor like we are having in Passover, which is not going to affect the building. They add additives to make it flow fast and to make everything set, so that once you pour it in between 8 hours and 24 hours, even though it looks like liquid, it hardens like steel, and it can last 400 years and nothing will touch it. Also, it has acoustic properties. It prevents noise from coming from outside. It's energy efficient. So it now qualifies for what we call green technology. So go to the next slide. Now what we do is that we use what we call foam works or shutters. We'll get the exact floor plan and dimension of your building. They prepare the ground, and the structural engineers will look at the integrity of everything. So no, just go back please. So once everything, they use these shutters. Shutters or foam work could be made of 3 or 4 properties. There are plastic ones, there are steel ones, there are wooden ones, and then there are aluminum ones. So it doesn't matter the type of shutter or foam work you use. You will achieve the same result and the same finish. So this is what the machine does. It mixes everything, and the computer controls the mixing, what you call the batching, to make sure everything comes out perfectly. Go up. And then, so you see where it is doing the mixing. So when everything is done, go up. It is now, they now put all these additives. Something to make it resistant, harden it, make it flow easy, and then they also include the mortar. So they put all those additives in the mixture, and then they are now poured inside the infills of the shutters. So you now see what happens within 24 hours. Now this is the structure of your building. So even if it is a duplex, they can build that duplex in about 10 days maximum, including the roofing, the tiling, the electrical, plumbing. All those things are taken care of at the design phase. So they know what the electrical sockets and outlets are going to be. They know where the plumbing is going to be, and all those things are taken care of. Now, one of the things you notice is that, no, please go back. The walls are very, very smooth. In fact, they are so smooth that you don't need any plastering. So you use what you call a skin coat machine, depending on the color or the texture you want, and then you have a completely, perfectly finished building. And this saves a lot of money, a lot. Also, this technology doesn't require any skill level. You don't need an experienced bricklayer or anybody, no. You can go out into the street and bring in like 100 area boys. Train them in 3 days and put uniform on them, and they'll be able to operate this machine. They just need somebody to supervise them, and they will get it right. So it doesn't need any skill level at all. So if you look at saving on labor, saving on plastering, and controlling every inch of the building process, you won't see any drop of cement or anything on the sand, on the ground, because it comes with very neat and safe work environment. So you use this machine to finally do the painting and the texturizing of your wall. Interior wall, exterior wall, determined by you. And they will achieve something that is near perfect. Now go up. We also, okay, so this guy is doing the skin coat painting. Go up. Now, recently, Perfection Betoniq is also happy to introduce another technology we call the Elcom building system. This one we are going to produce in a modular factory. It's not a big factory, it's a small factory. And that small factory can actually produce 2,000 houses in a year. 2,000. It's a small factory, you can move it around. If you finish building an Betoniq, you can take it to FaceTime. You just dismantle it and go and set it up there. So what the aircon does is that it doesn't use the traditional slab, precast slab. It uses the L-shaped precast slab. So that once you get the dimension of, it's like a child, fitting in a toy in a very neat, like a game or something. So it perfectly fits in your house. It will achieve exactly the same thing as the one we want to do on site. So what you do, you use the crane and then just lift it to the project site. You can also set up the modular factory on the site. So you now see some of the finished works with Elcom building technology. So the finishing is also as beautiful as the ones you use the in situ, which is the formwork, to do. So what we do is that the combination of these technologies will give Perfection Betoniq an extraordinary advantage. So we can build and construct as fast as possible, saving on labor, saving on time, increasing productivity on each housing unit we build. Now, very briefly, the advantages of our technology to traditional construction. From the standard of building, taking care of noise, insulation, less energy, and then it has zero maintenance. Once the walls are up, they don't need to do anything on the wall. Absolutely. So the quality is incredible. Like I said, the houses can last 100 years if you do not do anything to them. Affordability. We are absolutely on the idea of making these properties as affordable as possible. Because if we can build them at cheaper cost, maybe saving on labor and things like plastering and things like that. So we believe we can pass some of those savings to the end users, the buyers. The only challenge, or one of the biggest challenges you actually have in a place like Lagos is not the cost of building material, it's the cost of land. So this has always been a challenge. So if there's a control over that, then we will have a whole lot of control in the cost of labor and other things. Like I said, the buildings are very durable. They can last 1 century without degrading. I mean, you see some constructions in Nigeria, they're already crumbling even before you finish them. I mean, this is terrible. And you cannot even collateralize on those buildings. Nobody will say, okay, let me use this and give money to you. Because once they do the evaluation or do some kind of integrity test, everything collapses. Energy efficient. Again, Perfection Betoniq homes are very energy efficient because of all the materials that were put inside the concrete before it is poured. So we take care of what we call the thermal insulation. All these tests have been run. They have done all the energy and thermal tests and it's absolutely passed everything. So the houses are very energy efficient. Now, our rate of construction is very, very fast. If you put one brick, one mortar, it's going to take forever. There is no way traditional construction can build a duplex in 10 days. It's not possible. Even if you have all the money Dangote has, you will not be able to build it. Again, our construction cost is low because we use a scale level and there is no plastering. And then when we talk of mass housing, what other technology are you going to use to achieve mass housing, if not this? You remember what happened in Nigerian telecommunications? By the time Obasanjo came in May of 1999, Nigeria had the lowest tele-density population in the world. Tele-density is measured by the number of people per 1,000 with access to telephone. Nigeria had the lowest because the population then was like 140 million and only has 660,000 telephone lines. I remember this David Mark, who used to be Federal Minister for Communication. He used to say that the telephone is not for everybody. You people remember that? He said it's not for the poor, not for everybody. So it was something for the well-off people in the society today, Nigeria has the fastest growing tele density. Nigeria has 163 million people who have telephone today, from being the lowest at the fastest growing. Why? Because the technology became available, and Obasanjo decided to bring it on board. So that's what happened. So you use technology to resolve problems. We believe we can use technology to resolve the problem. So I'd like to thank you for your time and for listening to my presentation. Now we have 2 videos. Can you? We'll show you everything. It's not part of the. It's a separate.
For that wonderful presentation,
or the shutters based on the design of this particular building. This is a duplex that they are building. So first of all, they did the ground floor, and then they have taken the shutters up. The good thing, those shutters are reusable 300 times. So you can use one set of shutters to build 300 houses before you now recycle them. So it is incredible technology. So in 24 hours, now this is the building which they were able to finish just in a matter of days. So they said, can you go back? Can you start from the beginning, please? So that everybody will understand what prepare the ground for building. Then after that, they begin to set up the structure, which is the framework, based on what you have agreed. Is it 2-bedroom? Is it 3? Is it duplex? So that's what you are seeing. So once this is done, they have to mix the cement with all those additives, and then the foam, it becomes like foam. And then they pump the foam inside those shutters in order to achieve the finishing you are looking at. So it is this machine that does a whole lot of the work. So it's called RBM foam machine. So you see the guy, now the infill in between the shutters. So he's now, and that is your cement and your concrete. Everything now looks like liquid. But in about 8 to 24 hours, it will harden like steel. And then you see what happens when they now, the next day, they remove a set of the shutters. And then they can now move it to another part of the building. So they just use one set of shutters to build a whole house. So the next day, you see the building is now standing. And the walls are absolutely very, very smooth. And then they will remove those shutters and they move them to another part of the building, and they repeat the same process. So the shifting means that they can shift those shutters. They build one part of the house, they use the same thing, they move to another part of the house. So it's very repetitive type of work. So you save a lot on material, you save on time, you save on productivity. So nothing goes to waste with this technology. Now they have taken it upstairs and they're now building the other floor of the same duplex. And that is why they are able to finish this work in a matter of days. They don't need years or months to do this. So like I said, that's a finished building. So it looks really perfect and beautiful. Of course, they use the same formwork for that. You can use formwork even for bridges and staircases. It's applicable in any part of construction. So you just get the right type of formwork. Of course, they work with engineers that understand how this works, but the actual work will be done by your skilled people. So once everything is set, and the computer monitors everything, so you cannot make a mistake. Take the standard 100 millimeter wall. You want very thin wall, or you can take it up to 250. Like if you are building a prison wall, or you are building some kind of secure facility, you can say, I need walls for 200, yes. So you can choose the size of wall you want. You achieve the same quality of work and perfection. So like I said, the labor cost is cheaper because you can recruit area boys and teach them in 3 days to do this. You don't need people from Togo or Benin Republic to do it. Okay, so that's the conclusion of everything. If you want to watch, if you want this video and some of these other materials, then they can also leave their email. Thank you very much.